There. So today we're going to use the rib feature in Inventor, and a rib is just something that provides additional support, often used where there are angles where something is going to be pushed against another thing and you don't want it to collapse. We can also use ribs to divide things down the middle. And so the nice thing about a rib is that it doesn't require extrude. You actually just use one line. So we're going to be making these two guys, and I promise it'll go fast. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to make a new standard part. And then we're going to start by making that L shape, which is going to be really easy. I'm going to go ahead here on my XZ plane. I'm going to rotate my view cube so that I'm looking at it from the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a rectangle starting at the origin that is 10 inches wide, hit the tab key, 5 inches tall. And I'm going to finish that. Okay. Then I'm going to extrude that to a distance of 1 inch. Then I'm going to go ahead and look at this guy from the top. I'm going to start a sketch right on the top there. And I'm going to create a rectangle. Make sure that you start it on the corner. You should see that a little arrow pointing at a dot and the green dot over where your crosshairs is. And then drag it over. When you hit the line, you'll see the little icon there saying, hey, you're pointing at the line, and you should see exactly 10 inches wide. Then I'm going to hit the key, and I'm going to make that 1 inch thick, and that makes my dimensioned rectangle. I'm going to go angle this a little bit. I'm going to extrude this guy to a distance of 4 inches, and that gives me my L shape. Really easy. We've done that a lot. Now we're going to make a work plane that is right down the middle. So I'm going to go down to plane, click the down arrow, and select mid-plane between two planes. I want to select the L on one side, and then flip it around and then hit the L on the right side, and you'll see it makes a work plane right down the middle. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and look at this guy from the left-hand side, and we are going to start a sketch right there on that work plane. And all we're going to do is we're going to make a series of lines. So I'm going to start just roughly over here. Don't worry, we're going to dimension this in a second. I'm going to click, and then I'm going to click again and make a horizontal line. I'm going to click to make an angled line, and I'm going to click one more time to make a nice vertical line. And then I'm going to hit escape. Now, if you were concerned about your horizontal lines not being horizontal, you can make them that way. It says it already is. Same thing, if you were concerned about that, you could do that. Oops, come on. Escape. Sorry, I'm not hitting the actual line. Again, if I hit the line, it tells me it already is, but if you were worried that those were not, you could. Now let's add some dimensions. Okay, let's make from here to here 0.25. Let's make from here to here 0.25. And then let's go ahead and make an angled line right here. So dimension, so from here to here. Now, if I just drag, you'll see that it tries to go vertically or horizontally. But if I go near the line and I click again and I start dragging, you can see it'll actually give me the line at an angle. So I'm going to go ahead and make this 2 inches long. Click, 2 inches long. Okay. Then we're going to do a little more dimensioning to move this whole thing into place. Let's dimension from the bottom of this to here. Let's make that just 1 inch. And then let's make from this edge to here also 1 inch. And last but not least, let's give an angle to this line. So I'm going to click on this whole line, click on this whole line, and let's make this a 45-degree angle. And at which point it makes that big goofy, it's showing like the whole semicircle, but that's okay. That's just a dimension line. The actual lines that we care about are right there. So we're going to go ahead and finish this sketch. Now the cool thing about this is that you can see I have this little sort of bracket shape there. We can turn this into a rib by using the rib command. So I'm going to click on the rib command. There are two ways to make a rib. One is if I have a line and I want to make the rib that extends downward from the line, so at a perpendicular from the line. The other is to make it parallel to the line, and that's the one that we're going to select. Then it wants to know the profile. The profile is that line that we just drew. Now, you can make a rib in two ways. One, where the rib goes and it connects to both pieces of geometry the whole way through. The other is that it only connects it a little bit. So we're going to do that. In order to get this guy, I believe I used, let's see, I think I used 1/4 of an inch. I think I used 1/2 inch, nope, 1/4 of an inch there as well. I used 1/4 inch thickness and 1/4 inch sort of distance from that line. You'll also notice that I have options to make the rib where that line is in the middle. I could make it on one side, I could make it on the other, but we're going to keep that smack down the midline, and then we're going to go ahead and hit OK. So if you don't like that work plane showing up there, you can make it invisible, and that is what we are going to go ahead. You click Home. That is what you're going to screenshot and submit to your first, and don't forget to hit, you can save this guy if you would like. The other piece that we're going to do, and this one will go even faster, we're going to make a new part. Standard part, you'll see how we can use the other, so instead of using a parallel one, we'll use a normal one. We're going to be really easy on this. Click the bottom here. We're going to make a 10 inch by 10 inch rectangle. So at the bottom, type in 10 by 10, and we have a nice square. We hit finish. We're going to go ahead and extrude this guy 5 inches. Turn this into a box by using the shell command. So I'm going to come up here to shell. I'm going to click on the top, and I'm going to make a 1/2 inch shell. Okay, so now I have a box. I am then going to start a 2D sketch right on that edge there. And I am going to create a line that starts at the midpoint. You want to make sure you get the midpoint. It'll be that green point right there. And then you want to get down to the midpoint, boom, there. So I have made a line that goes smack down the middle. All right, so now I can actually turn this into a rib, and I can use the other feature of rib. So instead of parallel, let's go ahead and make it normal. The profile is always the line. If you wanted it to be a nice, just flat divider down the middle, you can see we can add the thickness there. I think we can go ahead and make this guy 1/4 of an inch. So this is how it is at the top. But you can also draft, meaning you can actually make that that rib angle outward, gives it a little more stability. So if you add a draft angle, so like a 5-degree angle, you can see that now that is slanted. And that is your second thing you would screenshot and submit this. And that is the 2 basic ways of using the rib command in Autodesk Inventor. Thank you.